Hello, YouTube family. Welcome back to the Note Genius YouTube channel. Today I'm here with Mr. Marco Barrio, another well-experienced note investor with his own niche, his own lane within this small niche. And today we're here to talk to him about seller finance notes. That is his bread and butter. And he's going to give us some great inside information as to how to succeed with investing in seller finance notes. Marco, how are you today?
I'm good, Brian. How you doing today?
Great. So, let's get right into it. Give us a brief introduction to who you are, how you became a professional note investor.
Sure. So I work in a space within note investing where I focus on purchasing existing seller finance real estate notes. A seller finance note means that somebody owned real estate and they sold it, and instead of the buyer going to a third party for financing, the seller agreed to accept payments over time in installments. It's essentially an installment sale. In fact, that's what the IRS would deem it as, an installment sale. And usually there's some terms, just like a mortgage, where you would see an interest rate and a down payment, an X number of months with X number of payments, and maybe there's a balloon, or maybe there's a fully amortized schedule where there is no balloon. But they look like mortgages. The only thing that's different about them is there is no bank. And to be honest with you, they're all a little bit different because there's no guidelines. There are a few laws that have to be followed and a few recommended procedures that should be followed. But there's nobody that says it has to be 360 months or 180 months or a lot of the other things that one just assumes when they look at a mortgage.
Got you. Now, did you have any prior real estate experience before getting into this?
No, I really didn't. I live in Maryland now. I moved here about a year ago. But before that, I lived in Los Angeles. I was out there for 3 decades, most of which I was working in the entertainment industry. So I was part of teams who did the production work behind the scenes and post-production work behind the scenes on film and television series, on films and television series. Um, and in around 2015, is that world began to change and it affected my place in that world or limited my options in that world, we'll say. I started to look for something different and I found myself at a real estate investor meeting that occurred monthly. And every month, like most meetings, there was a different topic. And one month they were talking about flipping houses, so I was going to flip houses. And the next month they were talking about buying apartment buildings. Guess what I was going to do after that meeting? I was going to go buy some apartment buildings. And after probably about 4 months of that, I thought I better pick something. And as luck would have it, the next month there was a panel talking about note investing in a few different ways. A couple of those people had experience buying non-performing loans, which there were quite a few of coming out of the big financial crisis, 2008, 2010 timeframe. And that's where I cut my teeth and learned a lot and transitioned a little bit within the note space to what I do now. But that's what led to me doing what I do now.
Nice. Now, why seller finance notes? What is the difference? You kind of explained the difference between seller finance and institutional, but what attracts you to the seller finance side?
It's really because it's a place I like to be. There's so many different niches within investing, and then one of those niches is real estate investing, and there's so many niches within that. Then there's note investing, and some people are really interested in just the financial gain. And I'll be honest, there might be other places within real estate and note investing to make money faster or make more on a single transaction. But I like the people I work with. I like that I'm part of a Main Street financial system, not a Wall Street financial system, and it really suits me. So that's why I chose to come to this space and enjoy staying in this space.
Awesome. Now, to attract these seller finance opportunities, are you doing any marketing? How are you finding these opportunities?
Yeah, the marketing is really big. What I do is really similar to people who are looking to buy houses off market. They're sending mailers, they're putting ads online and paying for clicks to their website. They're doing cold outreach. All those types of things work, obviously different databases and different lead sources, But all those types of things work for finding seller finance notes. I buy from mom and pop note holders all over the country, and they first of all have to have a note. Second of all, have to be somewhat motivated to sell a note, and then if those two things are true and we have a conversation, then we can do business. But I have to figure out how to make sure we can have that conversation.
Nice. Now, are you having to do a lot of educating as far as what the opportunity is, as far as someone selling their note, or do you typically find people who are eager to get rid of their note and kind of knowledgeable of how it works?
So it really depends. A lot of that actually goes back to the marketing and what the lead source is.
Yeah.
I found that the outbound marketing, which is typically mailers or cold outreach, which I've never done the cold outreach as far as phone or text. It was mailers when I was starting out. Um, there are a fair number of people who weren't aware they could sell their note. Everyone's aware you can sell a house, but not everybody's aware once they have a note that they can sell it. So I would find that they would receive mail and they would just be curious and they would want to know more about it. And that would lead to a conversation, which is good. They enter the database and I can start a stream of follow-ups with them. But that doesn't mean that there necessarily was ever any motivation to sell the note. However, it takes a certain amount of time and education, like you mentioned, to explain the process and the fact that they can sell the note. So the other types of lead sources are inbound marketing. And those are people who have some idea that they can sell a note and took it upon themselves, usually to put a search term in Google or Microsoft or something like that, into a search engine, and then that leads them to me.
Nice. Okay. So one of the things that I hear a lot of experienced investors talk about is ensuring that your notes are underwritten properly before you buy. I'm assuming when you're buying from these mom and pop sellers, there may be occasions where you have some issues in the underwriting. So how often do you run into that, and how do you address those issues when you do run into them?
I'll go back to the house buying analogy. If somebody's selling a house off market, first of all, um, it's not a house that was easily listed, or they just need to sell it quickly. Those are the two main reasons. And in my case, it's not that there is a marketplace to sell these. There's no MLS for notes. So you might find some that are in really good shape, but the majority, because because of what I was saying at the beginning of our conversation, that they're created outside the boundaries of bank originated notes with all the boxes that need to be fit into in that world. Maybe a corner was cut, or maybe some documents are missing, or maybe the pay history wasn't documented perfectly, or maybe there's a title issue. It to some degree it's real estate, and real estate has problems. And I know all my friends who buy houses will tell me stories that sound a lot like the stories I have buying notes. It's usually title problems or seller problems, or wouldn't you know, four heirs inherited the darn thing and three want to sell and one doesn't. And I'm like, how do we navigate that? And I deal with all the same stuff.
Okay. So you very clearly care about the interpersonal side of note investing. That's why you choose the seller finance route. That's why you deal with the mom and pops. Do you ever deal with the borrowers directly as well?
When I buy performing notes. And in that situation, I'm comfortable to have an initial conversation with the payer. They're not technically a borrower
The
because they
payer,
didn't
right?
borrow anything. They're being financed. So I have a conversation with them because I want to learn as much as I can about their side of the story, do a quick size up of who they are, and make sure that they do have the intent to continue paying on the note, because that's important. And then in that conversation, they might disclose a few things about the property or the neighborhood, or the difficult next door neighbor, or interesting things come up when you just have conversations with people. So we call it a borrower interview or a payer interview. Um, I'll have that conversation. Then I don't tend to talk to them anymore. I turn it over to my loan servicer after I've bought the asset. It's really better for them to have those conversations. Most of the notes I buy are secured by owner occupied property, and there's a lot of regulation and things that and the rules change quickly, and I'm not, sometimes my emotions get involved, let's just say that. And it's easier for someone who's not emotionally involved as I am to just stay cool on a call if somebody's upset. So not that people always have a reason to be upset, but you never know. I just leave those conversations to the loan servicer after we close.
That makes sense. Um, Now in the realm of seller financing, of course you can seller finance properties, homes and whatnot, but there's also a lot of seller financing going on with businesses, apartments. Like you can seller finance a lot of different things. Do you focus specifically on single family homes or have you ventured out into these other areas?
Real estate, it's not always a single family home.
Okay.
I'm not buying, a 175 unit commercial, certainly, but it could be a small commercial. It could be once in a blue moon land. Um, uh, Pretty common to see mobile home and land. However, I personally have never dealt in anything that's not secured by real estate. Yes, there's a marketplace for that, but I've never gone into that space.
So, in your experience, what would you say the most rewarding part of note investing in general is? I know from the seller finance side, you like to kind of work through it with people and work, like you said, the Main Street versus Wall Street approach. But what do you find rewarding about note investing, and what kind of person would you say that this strategy is best suited for?
The rewarding part is working with the sellers.
Hmm.
They're regular folks. They're non-financial professionals, and they have at the end of the day they have some problem I can help them with. They've got something that they don't want or need anymore, or something that they need instead of what they currently have, and I can help them to get there. Which is all stuff that real estate investors and all entrepreneurs do, frankly. So um, I guess I could say if I was running I don't know, a restaurant and I had really nice customers that came in and I got to know them a little bit and have conversations and learn about their lives, I could have similar experiences. It's not to say that that doesn't exist for a lot of entrepreneurs, small business owners. But I really enjoy that part of what I do.
So you got into this about 2015, you said, right? Is when you
I
got into
started
it.
going to meetups about 2015. I think I bought my first note in 2017.
Okay, okay. So how has your process changed over time? I mean, what kind of, I guess, systems have you built into your business that allow you to operate more effectively? Obviously, you have a great marketing system. You're doing great outreach, but is there anything else in your process that has helped you become more efficient at note investing?
It's a timely question. We had a closing last week, and it was a new buyer for us. And I'll be honest, I assumed that they were going to do things and take care of things that all of my other buyers had. But those buyers, in hindsight, were built to handle these little one-off mom and pop transactions that I deal with. I buy some of the notes in my own portfolio, but not all of them. Just like again with houses, somebody can buy a house and take ownership of it as a buy and hold, or somebody can wholesale the deal. They can put it under contract and they can assign that contract for a fee. I do both with notes, just different type of asset paper instead of property. So this was a wholesale, or people call it broker sometimes, deal, and we were working through their title company and using their procedures. And it was eye opening in the sense that there were a few pieces there that I was just used to, and I guess I'd taken for granted. So with repetitions, things get tighter. And so we doubled back and we put together a procedures document that the next time we do one of these transactions with somebody who's not a established buyer in that space who I've already done business with, we'll use the document. All it does is define the roles and responsibilities for each party. Um, but I'm sure it'll make things a lot smoother going forward. So those kind of opportunities are always in front of us as we do more deals.
Nice. Nice. Now, how has note investing impacted your life over the past, what is it, 8 years or so? Has there been a significant shift in your time, your flexibility, maybe future planning? What has note investing done for you?
So when I worked in the entertainment industry, um, I won't say that I was tied to a desk because through most of it we had, I mean, I started when we had beepers and then it was mobile phones. But I did have some ability to be mobile. I didn't always have to be. There was a time I had to be on set. There was a time I had to be in some editing brooms and color correction suites and sound mixes and things like that. But eventually I had a job where I didn't. I could not work remote, but I could work from home and do things like that. Now it's just the joys and also the stress of being the person in charge and defining how my day goes. I really enjoy. I moved to Maryland to live with my girlfriend here, And I was able to move from Los Angeles to Maryland, and nothing changed for me. Everything I do is remote. It's phone and email and Zoom calls and Teams calls and things like that. That's 100% of the work I do. I can do it from anywhere. So earlier this year, I closed a note transaction from the balcony of a cruise ship. Um, it's it's pretty cool. Um, that's the good. The bad is this stuff follows you under the cruise ship. You're not going to get away from it because when the deal has to close, the deal has to close. So there's pros and cons to it, but I do enjoy that part. It suits my lifestyle.
Nice, nice. Now, do you ever, speaking of seller financing and whatnot, do you ever originate your own notes and be the financier yourself?
It's rare. Um, I mentioned I used to buy non-performing notes, and sometimes those lead to a foreclosure where the lender receives the property at the end of the process. And what I don't want to own is property. I just want paper. So I sell those when, if and when that happens, and I turn them back into paper. So I've done that a couple of times. And then until recently, I owned one actual rental property. It was in Memphis, and I'm in Maryland. And eventually kind of had the talk with myself that why do I need one rental house when everything else I'm doing is something else? So I just turned that into a note. I sold it and I carried back, actually wrapped an existing mortgage. So I essentially receive the same cash flow every month because the buyer pays X, I owe my mortgage company Y, and I get to keep the difference. Um, but I don't get any phone calls that we have to replace the electric panel, which had happened recently, or we have a turnover, which I'm pretty sure is going to happen after this lease period's up, things like that. So for me, it led to more freedom.
Nice. Awesome, awesome. Well, that's all I have written down for you today. Your answers were extremely insightful, so I appreciate your time. Are there any closing thoughts you would like to leave us with? And how can people get in contact with you?
My company is Porch Swing Funding. So we have a website, porchswingfunding.com. And the best way to get and stay in touch with me is I publish a newsletter that comes
Mhm.
out every Sunday. It's called Seller Financing Sunday. And there's a website address for that, Seller Financing Sunday, where you can sign up. It's free, it's short, it comes out every Sunday. I like it as a way to just stay in touch with people. There's always a tidbit and some information in there that's educational or events that somebody might be interested in if they're interested in this space. And it's all about note investing and seller financing. So that's Seller Financing Sunday.
Awesome, awesome. Well, Marco, thank you again for your time. I wish you continued success in note investing and in the seller finance space. And I look forward to your newsletter. I'll subscribe to it myself, so I'll be
Yes.
looking forward to it on Sundays and continuing to learn everything I can from you. So thank you. Enjoy the rest of your day. Have a great time, and I'll talk to you soon.
Thanks, Brian. Thanks for the chance to talk to you.